This is the story of a city misremembered, a memoir that won awards and sparked outrage, a voice that rose in defense, and a truth that refused to stay buried. When Angela's Ashes hit the shelves in 1996, it was hailed as a masterpiece. But in Limerick, many felt betrayed. The book didn't just describe poverty, it defined it. And for those who lived there, that definition felt wrong. This is not a rebuttal, it's a reckoning, a portrait of pride, pain, and protest. This is Limerick. This is the long moan. When Angela's Ashes hit the shelves in 1996, it was hailed as a masterpiece. But in Limerick, many felt betrayed. Richard Harris was among the loudest voices. Frank McCourt was the ugliest and most bitter human being I've ever met. Harris didn't just disagree with the book, he saw it as a deliberate distortion. It's a long moan, one big, perpetual moan. McCourt's portrayal of Limerick as a rain-soaked purgatory, where kindness was absent and poverty was universal, enraged Harris. He knew the city, he knew its people, and he knew Frank. He didn't inherit the loyalty, the passion we have for each other. Harris recalled a moment in Malachi McCourt's pub when Frank struck him and ran. "I've never yet been confronted by a Limerick man who ran away from a fight. We don't do that in Limerick. We stand our ground." To Harris, McCourt's memoir wasn't just exaggerated, it was cowardly. It painted a community of resilience as one of cruelty, and it turned a city of pride into a caricature of despair. Then came the Late Late Show. Jerry HANNAN, live on RTE, accused McCourt of peddling lies. "You hammered your mother," he said. "You owe her an apology." McCourt fired back. "I left Limerick. You stayed. Go ahead and live." The feud had gone public, and Limerick had found its voice. The lanes of Limerick in the 1930s, as seen through the eyes of young Frank McCourt in Angela's Ashes, are narrow, wet, and soaked in poverty. The rain, relentless and gray, is a constant presence, seeping into crumbling walls, trickling through broken roofs, and flooding the streets until sewage bubbles up from the drains. It is a world where children run barefoot through puddles of filth, where shoes are a luxury and warmth a rare blessing. Frank's family lives in a dilapidated house on Roden Lane, a place where the upstairs is dry and referred to fondly as Italy, while the downstairs, cold and sodden, is called Ireland. Each morning is a battle against the damp, each night a return to dreams interrupted by coughing fits and the groans of hunger. The walls weep with moisture. The lavatory, shared by all the families in the lane, emits a stench that clings to the air and mixes with the smoke of burning coal and the faint sourness of poverty. Yet within these lanes, life persists. Neighbors argue, gossip, borrow, and lend. Children laugh and curse with words. They shouldn't know. There is shame, yes, and sickness and loss, but there is also a strange resilience, a stubborn clinging to whatever dignity the rain hasn't washed away. McCourt doesn't romanticize this world. He lays it bare, letting the reader feel the chill of the stone floors, hear the rattle of a dying man's breath, and sense the dull ache of an empty stomach. The lanes of Limerick, in his telling, are not just streets. They are a character in themselves. Harsh, unforgiving, yet alive with memory, survival, and the raw human will to endure. Not everyone agreed with how Frank McCourt portrayed Limerick in Angela's Ashes. When the book was published, it stirred deep emotions, especially in the city he had written about. For many readers around the world, his story was raw, unforgettable, and heartbreakingly honest. But for others, particularly those who lived in Limerick during the same time, it felt like a betrayal. Some locals pushed back, claiming McCourt had exaggerated the squalor and shame. They remembered poverty, yes, but not the relentless misery he described. Former neighbors and classmates went so far as to call his work a catalogue of exaggerations, accusing him of dragging Limerick through the mud for fame and fortune. Civic leaders voiced concerns that his words had damaged the city's reputation. But while critics questioned his accuracy, others defended him. Historians who knew just how brutal urban poverty in 1930s Ireland could be, and readers who saw in McCourt's memoir a child's voice, shaped not by facts and figures, but by feeling. This was not a documentary. It was memory. Frank McCourt himself stood by his account. "I'm not responsible for Limerick's reputation," he said. "I'm responsible for what I remember." For better or worse, Angela's Ashes told one boy's truth, and that truth, as uncomfortable as it was, struck a chord heard far beyond the rain-soaked lanes of Limerick. When Angela's Ashes was released, it captivated readers around the world with its haunting tale of childhood poverty in Limerick. But in the city it portrayed, the reception wasn't so warm. Two of Limerick's most outspoken sons, actor Richard Harris and writer Jerry HANNAN, rose in fierce opposition, accusing Frank McCourt of tarnishing their hometown's name. Richard Harris, celebrated for his commanding screen presence, was openly scathing. He dismissed McCourt's memoir as bitter and exaggerated, claiming it had turned Limerick into a global symbol of misery. To Harris, McCourt had weaponized personal pain into profit, portraying a city drowning in shame to sell books. He ridiculed the filmmakers for having to shoot the movie elsewhere, saying Limerick was now too clean and prosperous to resemble the slums McCourt described. A work of distortion and self-pity, he called it. Jerry HANNAN took a more methodical approach, though no less dramatic. Armed with a list of 204 alleged inaccuracies, HANNAN confronted McCourt on The Late Late Show on RTE in 1999. The exchange was electric. HANNAN accused McCourt of lying, of inventing people, of slandering the real lives of decent Limerick families. "You are a liar!" he shouted, his voice trembling with fury. McCourt, clearly disturbed, responded with equal force, insisting that Angela's Ashes was a memoir, his truth, not a documentary. To some, Harris and HANNAN were defenders of civic pride, standing against a caricature. To others, they missed the point, that McCourt was not condemning a city, but recalling a painful past through the eyes of a child. Either way, the controversy laid bare a deeper tension between memory and myth, truth and reputation. In telling his story, Frank McCourt opened old wounds, not just his own, but Limerick's too. And not everyone was ready to forgive. The book was a bombshell, not just for Limerick, but for Ireland. Readers abroad devoured it, drawn to the grit and grief. But here, at home, the pages stung. Families saw shadows of themselves, distorted or exposed. Some felt betrayed, others felt seen. The city, once silent, now buzzed with debate. Was this truth? Was this theater? In pubs and parlors, the question echoed. And in the quiet corners of Limerick, people began to reckon, not just with McCourt's words, but with their own memories. The fallout wasn't just cultural, it was personal, and it lingered. The backlash came in waves: letters to editors, heated radio calls, local historians dissected inaccuracies, teachers debated its value in classrooms. But beneath the noise, something deeper stirred. A generation raised in silence began to speak. Not all stories matched McCourt's. Some were harsher, some were full of joy. The memoir cracked open a vault of collective memory, and while many rejected his lens, they couldn't ignore the mirror. Limerick's story was no longer buried. It was contested, yes, but alive. And in that messy, painful awakening, the city found a new voice. Literary circles debated the ethics of memoir. Was McCourt's suffering commodified? Was poverty romanticized? Critics praised the prose but questioned the framing. Yet the book endured. It became a symbol, not just of hardship, but of survival. And for many outside Ireland, it was their first glimpse into a world long hidden. Limerick, once a footnote, became a metaphor. The city's pain was now literature, its resilience now legend. And while the wounds reopened, so too did the pride. Pride in having endured. Pride in being remembered, even if the remembering was imperfect. Years passed, the anger softened, the debates cooled, and in Limerick, a quiet reconciliation began. Murals appeared, archives were opened, schools taught the memoir alongside counter-narratives. The city didn't forget the sting, but it embraced the dialogue. McCourt's ashes, scattered on the Shannon, became a symbol of return, not triumph, not apology, just presence. The long moan of memory had echoed across continents. And now, in the final frame, Limerick stood, not as victim, not as villain, but as witness, to its own story, to its own truth, and to the power of telling it. Stories linger. They echo in the streets we walk, the voices we carry, the silences we inherit. Angela's ashes was one story. Limerick holds thousands more. Some painful, some proud, all real. This film was never about disproving a memoir. It was about reclaiming space, about saying, we were here, we are here, and we deserve to be heard in full. The long moan has ended, but the conversation continues. In classrooms, in kitchens, in the quiet dignity of a city that refused to be defined by someone else's sorrow. This is not the end. It's the beginning of memory.
Step into the past and uncover the heart of Ireland. At Emerald Chronicle, we bring you hundreds of captivating documentaries exploring Irish history, myths, legends, and folklore. Our playlists guide you through Ireland's fascinating journey, from prehistoric Ireland, proto-historic and Celtic eras, and the early Christian and Viking periods, to the Anglo-Irish invasion and the lordship of Ireland.
Delve deeper into the Tudor conquest and religious conflicts, the union with Great Britain and the Great Famine, the fight for independence and the divisions of the 20th century, and Ireland's evolution into the 21st century. Best of all, We keep all our documentaries at 15 minutes or less, making it easy to explore Ireland's history, even on a busy day.
Every time you watch, you're supporting the upkeep of our channel. And when you share Emerald Chronicle, you're helping to promote Irish history and culture worldwide. We kindly ask you to like and share, and subscribe to Emerald Chronicle now. Let's keep Ireland's stories alive together.